Welcome to the Local Marketing Source Weekly Update, brought to you by localmarketingsource.com. This update is taken from the Local Marketing Source Professional Development Program for local marketers.
This week's Local Marketing Update is brought to you by Scott Gallagher. Scott is the co-founder of Local Marketing Source and has become the recognized expert in providing online marketing services to local businesses. Follow Scott on Twitter at ScottGallagher5 and on Facebook.com/ScottP.
Hey guys. Well, it's Scott Gallagher here with Local Marketing Source, bringing you our weekly local marketing industry update. Now, I got my phone going off like crazy, everything comes at the last second here. But this week's call is going to be excellent. It's our first call for the year, and as you can tell, I'm wearing some interesting gear to be doing a call. Well, it's that time of year, and anybody that's in North America right now could definitely appreciate this. But at the same time, I'm supporting my Canadian team because the Olympics are starting soon, and that's going to bring the world together. And it's interesting, a lot of you know I'm a hockey fan. My son is a big hockey fan. I live in Chicago, and I used to be a fan of the Toronto Maple Leafs. But when in Rome, you want to celebrate with the Romans, and so I've definitely been supporting, and I'm a big Chicago Blackhawks fan. Now, of course, Toronto is my second team, but you can't take my Canadian heritage out. And albeit I'm in the process, even though I got my green card and been in this country for 9 years, I'm in the process of getting my American citizenship. Canada's always going to come first. And so this is the first time my son and I are going to conflict in a team. Mind you, Patrick Kane is his second favorite player, but Jonathan Toews is the captain of Team Canada and also the captain of Chicago. So we're both going to be cheering on Canada for that gold medal. It's going to be exciting, but nonetheless, the other reason is it's been darn cold here. Last week I was in Canada and we hit negative 53 degrees Fahrenheit, negative 49 Celsius. I come home to Chicago, drive for 19 hours for a typical 12-hour drive through ridiculous snowstorms to get to Chicago to find out that there's probably more snow in Chicago than there is in Canada, and the temperatures dropped to minus 51 Fahrenheit. It's been cold. Well, today's the first day we're getting a little bit of warmth, but I'll tell you what, that's just too darn cold to do anything. You can't even breathe in it. But we've got a good week this week. It is the beginning of the new year. So we're going to talk a little bit about what transpired in 2013, what we're going to look for in 2014. And for this week's update or overview, what we're going to talk about for the update, this is more for local business owners, but at the same time, I want to teach agency owners exactly what small businesses should be looking for when hiring a marketing company or a marketer. We'll call them the modern marketer. Next, I want to talk about 6 changes that have transpired at Google over the last year and how we can look at some of those changes to further analyze and understand what's going to happen in 2014 for SEO. Some say SEO is dead. Others say, hey, wait a second here. SEO is not dead. Tactical SEO is dead, but SEO still exists. And there's just such a big misunderstanding of what SEO is. You guys know how I am. It's really about marketing at the end of the day and creating good content. So that leads us to our next update. I'm going to talk about just saying no to SEO. In other words, saying no to some tactical SEO aspects. I've been getting a lot of questions lately about duplicate content or keywords. As a matter of fact, I just did a reply in the forum, the Facebook group in regards to keyword research, title tags, and information like that. So where we're not going to utilize different SEO, tactical SEO strategies that you may or may not have learned. And finally, the link apocalypse. I mean, maybe last week we thought the apocalypse of the world was going to happening with this temperature. It's just absolutely unbelievable. 2 years ago in Chicago, on January 14th, we still had a green landscape, no snow, and now there's got to be 3 feet, well over a meter of snow. It's unbelievable. But we're going to talk about the link apocalypse. Is it dead? Is link building dead? That's what some people are talking about. Let's get an understanding of specifically what that is really going to mean. I've got a lot of people. This is probably my busiest LMS member call that I've ever had. I'm just looking at the GoToWebinar right now. We've got quite a few students on the line right now. It's really, really exciting. Maybe it's because we've been getting a lot of new students lately, as well as the new year. People just want to get going. But for those of you that have never seen me before, we've just started to broadcast the camera along with the recording of the camera. This is not how I typically look. We are sporting our LMS gear nonetheless underneath. But yeah, I'm a type of guy that likes to wear my toque, and it's not a hat, guys, especially for all the Americans on the line. It's not a hat. This is a toque. I do support my toque, and it is my Canadian toque because I've got, you can see the moose on it. And what's the plural of moose? We had this debate on New Year's Eve after a few drinks, and we had our American friend believing that Canadians call them meese. Mouse and mice, meese. Moose. All right, so for this week's local tip for a local business, I'm going to talk about a simple link building strategy for local businesses. So obviously that should give you a little bit of insight into the apocalypse of link building. And for an agency, we're going to take that to the next level and talk about effective PR or public relation marketing campaigns for link building and citation exposure purposes. Now, in the LMS member Facebook group, if you haven't been in there lately, it's been very active. I have not been active in the last couple of weeks. I apologize. There's twice a year that I do travel back home to Canada to spend time with my family. Very typically, I'm in a place where there is no internet. As a matter of fact, we hung out up at the camp. There's no running water, there's no electricity up there, and it was negative 25 degrees. But it was fun as hell. Now we do have a big generator to run electricity, but you've actually got to go outside and start it. But the internet works in the summertime there, just not in the wintertime. And, like everybody, we need to spend some time with family and friends. And unfortunately, over the last couple of weeks, I haven't been attending to Local Marketing Source. Fortunately, Ryan has been there, and we got some very good students that have left the member Facebook group very active. But you're going to see me back in there on a very regular basis. We do have a lot of new members that have come on board in the last month, so we've got a few of them that are introducing themselves. And if you've been a long-time member or been around Local Marketing Source for a little bit, just remember the first time that you get in and you got in and some of the objectives that you wanted to achieve, go ahead and say hello to people, participate in there. That way you're going to get the most out of all of this. And there's the expression, you're a product of your own environment, or you're a product of your environment. Wherever you immerse yourself, you are really the average of the 5 closest people to you. And once a year, about this time of year, I typically purge my friendship list. Not Facebook friendship list, but real friends, the people that I spent time with in the previous year. And do I really want to be like them or not? And if I don't want to be like them, they're probably not a good friend of mine. Maybe an acquaintance, but participating in the LMS member Facebook group, a lot of us have a lot of the same objectives, and we're able there to really push each other. And so you should probably make it a habit of yours to check in on it every day or every couple of days at the very least. There's some good discussions in there about video pricing as well, in terms of how much we should be charging for videos and how do we position that in different ways. And thanks to our student Tisha, is Tisha on the line here? She is on the line, to posting that last article about the 3 pillars of local. I was very intrigued by that. The reason being is it's come out by a very, very, very reputable organization. That's Forbes magazine. Oh, why is my dog barking? Maybe somebody's coming to the door. But Forbes is a very reputable, high-end business magazine and publication, and they were discussing the 3 pillars of local search. That's exactly what we've been discussing at Local Marketing Source for over a year. I remember thinking that there was just 3 facets to local, and decided, heck, let's just call it the 3 pillars. You know, I never came up with that. Everybody's used it elsewhere, but this is the first time I've seen any local or any publications in the local sector utilize 3 pillars. What's beautiful about that article, and I want to appreciate Tisha for sharing that, is it's everything that we talk about at Local Marketing Source, but this is stuff that we've been discussing. And 2 years ago, we had a hard time. We'd have people challenge us and go, well, those guys at Local Marketing Source, you know, they're talking more about fluff. And, you know, what does that really mean, fluff? Well, there's no specific strategy to it. Well, this is the whole discussion of tactical SEO versus internet marketing. Tactical SEO is, for example, understanding that a title tag on Google through the SERP, that's the search engine results page, is going to show 64 characters, so let's not create our titles greater than 64 characters. Or knowing that Yahoo looks for a keyword density of 5.6%, so let's ensure our thresholds of the keywords insertion into our content is between 5 and 6%. Or understanding that anchor texts, we should not have a surplus or a greater percentage of 10% of a specific anchor text pointing to our root domain. These are all different tactical SEO strategies, and all of that's really dying if you haven't really picked up on a lot of that. And so I remember an article I wrote, and I said, you know, all SEO is bullshit. Well, it is. And for new members, let me explain a little bit further before we get going. Now, if you went to Google and you search for marketing definition, the very first organic listing you're going to get is the American Marketing Association, the AMA, and the definition for internet marketing. For marketing, excuse me, not internet marketing. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and go along with this for you guys to be able to see. And let's look up marketing definition. Now, this is Google's definition, or wherever they get it from, maybe Wikipedia, the act of business or promoting and selling blah, blah, blah. It's pretty vague. But we go to the American Marketing Association. They've got a simple definition right here, and it is marketing is the activity, set of institutions, the processes for creating and communicating, delivering and exchanging offerings that have value for customers, clients, partners, and society. In other words, it's the activity, it's the job of creating pieces of messages, whether it be a video, a brochure, a business card, a billboard, that offer value to customers or the industry, the prospect. Pretty simple. Well, SEO by definition, or for what we teach at Local Marketing Source, is exactly that. It's identifying the audience. In other words, we call it segmenting our audience and creating personas. Once we create multiple personas for a particular customer, we then go and create content that's relevant for that specific persona. And then we distribute that content. Article marketing for a chiropractor. Your audience is chiropractic patients. Maybe it's a wellness type of chiropractor. You're going to go ahead and create an article on subluxations, on adjustments. You're going to take that article and you're going to go and distribute it. A lot of strategies in the past have used automated software to distribute it to 100 different sites. Okay? Is that really effective distribution? Or taking that article and getting it publicized with the national publication for Association of Chiropractors. In other words, we create content and we distribute it. It's as simple as that. And then I want to talk a little bit about what's working and what we're talking about in the agency. It's going to be in relation to the local business tip, and we've had some discussions about PR marketing. I am not the expert in PR marketing. I am doing my diligence to further blow off the dust of my schooling. as well as getting further education on PR marketing, but I can definitely have some discussions on it and specifically why it's important to have these discussions right now. But let's talk about our weekly update first. And I still have students coming in. Some of you guys that are coming in late, that's a little slap. Remember those class days and the professor stood up the front? Well, at least I don't have to hear you guys, and you don't have to put up your hand to go potty or washroom. That word potty, I say it to my friends. They'll be at the bar or something like that, and I gotta go potty, and they all look at me like, you must be a dad. Yeah, must be a dad. All right, so first we're going to talk about how to find, assess, and hire the modern marketer. This is going to be a discussion specifically, well, not specifically, but more so geared to the local business owner, but every student that's on the line right now that owns an agency, understand that this is what our industry is predicating to look for when hiring certain agencies. And so, first off, what is a modern marketer? Well, I'm frustrated that people say, hey, I'm an online marketer, or I'm an offline marketer, or I'm a hybrid marketer, even for that matter. One of my good buddies is the hybrid marketer. Well, we're not any of those, really. When we start to talk about the strategies that we employ for our customers in order for them to get higher on the search engines, for example, one strategy is a review acquisition strategy. It's something that we drop in and we employ. Well, it does help us online, but does it help our customers' business in the offline world? Well, of course it does. I mean, there's different strategies that we're talking about and training our clients and their staff on how to properly, effectively communicate and ask for, well, not ask for reviews, but ask them to digitize a good comment that they ultimately made. We're creating offline marketing material, the postcards and whatnot. Certain information that we create, and if we distribute it, for example, to a local publication, a local newspaper, it's going to be printed into the offline world. In other words, we are helping our customers strengthen their relationship with their customers. So a modern marketer is, what is a modern marketer? Is somebody that understands not the tactical aspects of getting a website to the top of Google, or not the conversion methods for the proper headline for email marketing, or that social media marketer that understands the different ratios of friends and followers and increases from week to week and whatnot. But a modern marketer is somebody that truly understands the customer segments for our customers, or if you have a local business. A modern marketer is somebody that understands your customer segments. So here's an example. I always like to use chiropractic because I'm in that business, but we could pull out any type of, well, let's use dentists. Forget about chiropractors for now. And you've got different type of dentists that do different things. You've got dentists that deal with braces. You've got dentists that deal with cosmetic aspects of different surgery and teeth whitening. You got dentists that deal with, heck, I don't even know, but those big molars that are pulled. You're, or getting crowns and all of that's painful stuff. So let's look at a cosmetic dentist that versus a pediatric dentist, and how they're going to market themselves a little bit differently. Well, they both go to the same schools, guys. They all get the same education, and they're all just as capable of doing the same job to all the different patients. But it's specifically how they're going to position themselves in the marketplace to attract the right type of customers that they want. So maybe the pediatric dentist really likes children, and they're going to build, my son's dentist is different than my dentist office. We have two different dentists. His dentist, you walk in, and they've got a little train that goes around the entire office space. They got a lot of colors throughout. They've got some really good game section and stuff in the front. The dentists there have a lot of patience for not just children, but the parents and dealing with the parents. And their office is set up specifically that a parent comes in and sits down. Where my dentist is also a client of ours. She's, I love her, but she's crazy. There's no way that she would have patience for dealing with children. For us trying to get a meeting with her, she's constantly busy, and she works from 6 a.m. until 7, 8 o'clock at night, and for whatever she does, she's just so busy and does it. She would not have the tolerance for children and parents of children. It's as simple as that. So both of these dentists are going to have different audience segments. For example, the pediatric dentist is going to wants to deal with families, wants to work with parents that have children. These children have got to be between the ages of whatever they want to deal with, 5 and 15. These children have to reside within specific postal or zip codes. Maybe even that dentist is going to be in a certain ethnic portion of a major city. If I took Chicago, for example, they may be dealing perhaps more with a Hispanic group as opposed to a Caucasian or African American. I hope I'm using the right politically correct terms, because they seem to change all the time. But I just got an email from a student in UK, and I sent out holiday wishes, and in my email I was a little particular about writing Merry Christmas. I did say Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, and he wrote back, he says, it's a shame, Scott. He says, I'm an atheist, but I'm not insulted when somebody says Merry Christmas. He says, I say Merry Christmas, and my Muslim friends say Merry Christmas back, but then we, share their thing. And it's just the whole aspect of what's politically correct and whatnot. We definitely don't mean harm. If we're going to use the word, say, gay, or in the closet, then, it's ridiculous. So, no, I'm not apologizing. All right, so when looking for a modern marketer as well, a discussion is going to be, what is their experience in understanding both fundamental marketing principles? If you haven't taken the Marketing Fundamentals course at Local Marketing Source, take it as an LMS member. If you're not an LMS member, get registered for it, because it is a free course. We do have 7 different videos there. These are the fundamentals in marketing. This is Marketing 101. Anybody that's got a marketing degree is going to tell you that this is the stuff that they teach at the college and university levels. We've picked and chosen the right information specific to this business, but they've got to have that fundamental experience in the marketing, understand different terminology like customer segmentation. How do you segment your particular audience? What type of personas are you working with? Some call them avatars. Any marketer brain trust students I have on the line, they utilize terminology of avatars. You'll want to talk to somebody that has an understanding of the technology behind it. Not necessarily, this does kind of touch a little bit on tactical SEO, but there are some aspects of, for example, search engines. How fast do search engines crawl when content is created and published and distributed? How is it going to work? As well as some of the tools that exist out there. What's a good tool to identify your citation exposure? I'll give bonus points to any student on the line right now that can answer that question. Oh, we've got some people asking a bunch of questions right now anyhow. What tool? You guys on the line right now, what tool do you use to find out a company's citation exposure? We teach 2 different tools at Local Marketing Source. Who's on the ball right now? David, you got a good one. David suggested a paid tool, Bright Local. Bright Local is a good tool. It's a good paid tool to be able to help you. If you're not looking for a paid tool, what do we use? Thanks. Nahal says White Spark. That's a good Canadian company. That's whitespark.ca/local-citation-finder. Another great source. Rob, White Spar. I think he meant White Spark and missed the K. Probably hit enter or return before. But you're absolutely right. A free tool is Get Listed. Good job, guys. I don't know so much about the White Spark tool as opposed to Bright Local, and I'll definitely, like I said, my Canadian friends, I should know more about them. So some of the tools that are out there, and ask your marketer, or when you're talking to your client, demonstrate that you have a working knowledge of these different tools that are out there. Designs. What do I mean by design? Well, you know, the expression, without having a plan, you know, failure to plan is planning to fail, right? Do you have a plan when you're working with your customer? Do they know what you're going to be doing this month? Do they know what you're going to be doing next month? And do they know exactly what you're going to need to do in order to achieve those results? All right, so some of the questions that a local business should be asking when they're looking to hire an internet marketing company. You know, well, first off, if you're a small business owner or if you're an agency, I always recommend for people to look at multiple sources. I won't buy something unless I look at multiple sources myself. I do have confidence in my ability that when somebody gives me the opportunity to listen to me, their closing rate is relatively high. The hardest part of sales, obviously, is trying to get in the door to get that meeting in the first place. But ensure that they don't have a problem that you're looking, or go ahead and definitely look at different aspects of it. What's the difference between metrics and analytics? Can anybody on the line right now quickly tell me in one sentence what's the difference between metrics and analytics? We'll get back to that. Value. How are you going to deliver value to me? Or how is this agency going to deliver additional value to the client? Well, I talked about some of that aspect of being the modern marketer. Okay, so getting back to the analytics versus metrics. Come on, somebody. Somebody's got to know the difference between metrics and analytics. If I don't get an answer, I'm going to put my own employee on the spot here. He's probably going, Is he online? Yeah, he's here. All right, nobody wants to take a stab at it, huh? Nihal's got something going on here. Nihal Kazim. Rob says, who versus where? Okay, I guess that could be argued a little bit, yeah. David says, analytics is the data you collect. Metrics is the measurements you relate those analytics to. I like that. That's a great answer, David. Let's put this into perspective. Oh, what does Nahal say? He's saying the exact same thing almost. Analytics, collected data, metrics, key performance indicators, KPIs. Another great answer. I mean, analytics, the terminology analytics was never really in the marketing mix until Google Analytics ultimately came out. And this is just a whole set of data. There's a whole variety of different aspects of data that we can collect in terms of analytics. How many people have come to our website? And it's just basically raw data that's really not giving us much interpretation into it. Whereas metrics are a measurement of the performance of our business, exactly with what Nahal says, key performance indicators. So a metric, for example, may be conversion rates. In the old school world of understanding metrics, when we talk some of the sales process, how many different people did I talk to? How many people did I get appointments with? And how many phone calls did I make? Different metrics. where analytics ultimately deal with the raw data that we have to further interpret, to make business decisions. We're going to utilize raw data to help improve our analytics and make business changes there. So every single LMS student on the line should absolutely know that when you're looking for new customers, and local businesses should be asking that when hiring an agency. All right, so what are some of the, we're going to move on to the next one. What are some of the changes that have transpired in 2013, and how is that going to help us further understand the future of search engine optimization for local businesses moving forward? Well, number one being the not provided. We're no longer getting keyword data. Who was it that was asking about keyword data that I just typed about in the LMS forum? I think it was, hold on. I want to address this properly to the right person. I can't find it right now. Anybody on the line remember who that was? Forrest. Huh. It was Forrest. That's right. Forrest is on the line. Thanks, buddy. Glad you're on the line, because I wanted to talk a little bit further. I kind of gave a just a quick response to that. But you know, keyword data, like the best way for us to do keyword research is to forget everything online, go to the mall with a clipboard, hand somebody a little smartphone and say, if you were looking for a chiropractor, or if you had back pain and wanted to find a chiropractor, what search phrase would you use? Collect that from 150 people, you now have got your keyword research done. What these tools online allow us to do is go and find out how many times has somebody searched for Chicago chiropractor. Well, if you live in a small town like I do of Crystal Lake, Illinois, of 30,000 people, we're like, well, it kind of doesn't give us the right data, and then every keyword was starting to be grouped together, and we're getting false data, and we weren't getting much accuracy, and we'd start to build these weird skewed lists, and it really led the marketers into the wrong realm. And the problem with doing it is SEOers have been teaching us that keyword research is the most important and the first step that we do for everything. Everything else transpires after that. So if you get keyword research wrong, then your entire internet marketing strategy is going to be off kilter. Well, if you're dealing with a dentist or a chiropractor or a plumber or a courier company, it's all the same. And really, there's going to be 2 or 3 or 4 core terms that are highly relevant. And that's going to be the name of their profession. Courier, messenger, delivery company. And then we're going to add modifiers to that core term. Same day delivery, pediatric chiropractor, cosmetic dentist. But the core term is still dentist, or dentistry, or chiropractic, or chiropractor. So you've got a core term, you've got a core modifier, then you've got a geographical modifier. We call it geomod. But between the core term, your core term is your number one relevant term. Now, depending on the profession or whatnot, you may or may not add and identify different core modifiers. Well, your clients are going to be able to tell you specifically what those are. They're in the field. It's what they do. You could do the searches for it and just start typing, go into Google and start typing chiro, and it's going to tell you what the core terms are. The modifiers, well, the only time you're going to use a core modifier is when your client is in a specific niche within their field. Pediatric, as was an example that I gave. For a delivery company, you may have overnight or same day that define them differently. That's the difference between a local courier and, say, a UPS. UPS is not same day in most cases. And then your geomod. Well, The geomods, the geographical modifiers we can look at are the city or the town. In my case, Crystal Lake or Lake in the Hills or Algonquin or Chicago for that matter. You've got airport codes. In Chicago, it's ORD or MID for Midway. We could even use Rockford and Milwaukee that are relatively close airports as well. You've got zip codes. Those are relatively easy. If you're in Canada, it's postal codes, or around the world as well. Australia uses postal, I believe, and but the same thing. You've got abbreviations. You know, Chicago, we call it Chi-Town. San Francisco, they may call it the Bay. But the fact of the matter is with service areas, you're dealing with the town that you're working in or the city that you're working in. And that's going to be your number one geo term. So once you can understand to do the research on all three aspects of these keywords, boom, you've got a keyword list. You don't need to have the data along with it. Because the whole idea of prioritizing a keyword list of 150 and then creating content specifically around a keyword to get that ranked it goes against all marketing principles anyhow. So the idea of not provided, that's where in Google Analytics we can no longer get about 80% of the keywords that is driving traffic to our websites. They've taken that away from us. Why? What's the reason why Google has taken that away from us? They don't want to be assholes or jerks. They want us as marketers, we were utilizing that data to create content specific off of that. In other words, we were creating content to satisfy the search engines, and Google wants us to create content that satisfies the user so the user experience is enhanced and we think more like marketers. Well, they figured out that if they took that information away from us, then we can't use it, and we've got to look at other ways. In other words, that information is pretty much irrelevant. Now, it is highly relevant in the paid world. I'm not touching the paid world. Number two, this page rank. Anybody remember what page rank is? And the page rank toolbar, and hey, you can get links from a PR4 site and a PR3 site, and you know, Google's gotten rid of all of that. Now they've come back a little bit with PR, but it's irrelevant. PR is irrelevant for local. Don't put and care about where the page rank of a particular page is when you're trying to get a link or a citation on it. If it's relevant for the users and it's got traffic going to it that your users go to, then it's a relevant one to use. Number three, hummingbird. You know, hummingbirds are these little birds that flap their wings, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, about 300 times a minute. They're very fast, they can hover, and they can pinpoint with direct accuracy very, very quickly exactly with what they want. They get what they want, and then they're out and they're gone. Well, that's a way to describe the Google algorithm hummingbird. That's probably why they did it. It's a very fast algorithm. And it essentially allows you to submit a variety of different queries to get specific information. You know, if you wanted to do a search for, show me pictures of Soldier Field, just kind of like Facebook's social graph search. Then you can take that query a little bit further and then say, who plays there? And then get refined searches based off of that. That's because of the Hummingbird update. Number four, Google+. There's a lot of debate going on right now, even though we've seen tests and result and shows that Google Pluses do affect rankings. It's got to affect rankings. I can go on and on about the value that it does. Whether that's a big factor in the algorithm at this point in time, it might not be, but plus ones are a very good means to get an understanding the same way of likes. The more likes, the more shares, the more popular that content may be. Number 5, authorship. I've talked a lot about authorship. All your content should have the authorship tags on it. It's amazing how many sources don't have it. You know, when we go and do a search, let's look for Chicago chiropractor. Not one chiropractor is utilizing authorship in the Chicagoland area. What authorship does, guys, is it gives you a little picture of the doctor right on the SERP. It dramatically increases click-through rates and it improves rankings. This is what Google wants to see. Make sure your content has that. You can be in the number 2 spot organically and get a higher click-through rate than the number 1 spot. Number 6 is content or in-depth articles. You're not going to write content based off of one keyword. There was a point in time we were doing SEO back in 07, 08. We'd give a writer overseas $2 and a keyword, and I'd get a 400-word article out of it. This is a non-native English-speaking individual that we give a keyword on same-day delivery Denver. What the hell do they know about that? How are they going to create content of value? I could be in that industry for 9, 10 years and still not have as much value as somebody that's been in it for 25. So ensure that your content and you're working closely with the individuals, because we could have multiple clients in the same industry servicing different types of customers. Is there a pattern here? Which leads me to my next update. Just say no to SEO. Is there a pattern here? Well, we're creating content for the users. Now, when shouldn't we really be concerned about some of the big things? Like, we know that H1 tags are very important and title tags are still very important. But what if you're writing a blog post and you're debating about the title of the blog post, which is going to be the title of your page? Should it have specific keywords in it? Or should it be specific to the blog headline? Or should you write a title that's compelling? The 7 things not to do. We've been told for titles and headlines to stuff them with keywords. More and more content that's being created, blog posts that I put up, no longer do I look at a keyword list. Period. Plain and simple. I could care less what the title is and what the headlines are. Well, I do care, you know, as long as that they're compelling and on topic with the article. Now, different aspects of titles. Is it important to put the geomod and the core modifier, or sorry, the core term, excuse me, in the title of a website? Well, I'm approaching this from a tactical SEO point and say yes. But from a non-tactical or a modern marketer standpoint, the argument is it's going to be in there naturally. This is a chiropractor in Crystal Lake. Crystal Lake Chiropractic. 2 keywords right there. They've got the core term and they've got the geomod. But we're creating a title to properly describe what that business is. We're not creating a title because some keyword data has told me all of this. Rob, you're asking a couple of good questions here. We're going to get to questions and answers at the end of the update, so just keep typing your questions as we go through some of this stuff, and I'm talking, and we'll get to that. So in other words, your content we talk about should be designed to be shareable. In other words, make sure all your clients' web pages, or if you have a local business, all your web pages have the ability to share the content on that page through Facebook and Google at the very least. That's Google+. Probably want to add Twitter on there as well. Your images should have the ability to be shared on Pinterest or Instagram. What about dupe content? We've been hearing a lot of people talking about dupe content. Everybody says duplicate content is bad. Our industry has been throwing up in arms and thinking duplicate content is bad. So tell me, I write an article, okay? And this article, I submit it to CNN and I submit it to Forbes. CNN decides that they don't want to pick it up, but Forbes magazine picks it up. And then I also want to publish it to my own audience because maybe my 25,000 on my list, the 22,000 don't read Forbes. So I want to share it with them. And I post it on my blog. And then 2 days later, Forbes magazine goes and runs it. Who do you think Google's going to show first? Probably, you know, when you do a search, they're probably going to show the Forbes result because Forbes has got a lot more authority than me. But am I hurting the Forbes content by publishing it on my blog? After I've told you that it's very likely that they're going to be two separate audiences? How in that situation does duplicate content hurt the fundamental marketing principles when we're creating content and putting it where our audience resides? It doesn't. Fundamental marketing principles tell us to do that. So why would Google tell us not to do that? They don't. They don't, guys. If you're writing good content that have compelling call to actions and Google is showing Forbes first, guess what? If they really want to do business with you, they're going to come to your site and find you. That's what marketing is all about. Duplicate content is not bad. Where duplicate content doesn't help you is if you're going and creating content and then copying it from somebody else, trying to change a little bit with, say, software like Copyscape, and then go and distributing that content to get exposure out there. That's plagiarism. And I know in school, for all the years I've been going to school, plagiarism was not liked. It was frowned upon. We don't plagiarize, guys. Duplicate content that equals plagiarism is bad. Duplicate content that does not equal plagiarism, and I've given you examples of both, is fine. If you do happen to be plagiarizing for legitimate purposes, you can also no-index that content, and that's what's recommended if you are plagiarizing something from somebody else, whether you had permission or not. All right, moving on to the next update, the link apocalypse. Since the apocalypse of the world is over and it's starting to warm up here, we can talk about the link apocalypse. Since PageRank is gone, does that mean that Google is going to no longer be utilizing links? That's what some in the SEO community are saying, which is a big deal because that's exactly what started Google. Links are the specific and reason why Google is Google today, and now we're talking about them removing it? No. Links are always going to be a factor. They do give us different exposure. All right. But when we start chasing the link as opposed to getting content exposed in the right area, we're going to be much better off. So any type of content that you read that they're saying, you know, links are dead, don't follow on link building, you know, that's all bogus. Link building is still strong when it's done the proper way, through example, networking and relationships. And social alone cannot replace links. Google has continued to deny whether +1s truly help ranking, as I mentioned earlier. So either Google is telling the truth or Google is lying. And if they're lying, they just refuse to admit the truth. Well, if they are measuring +1s and I were Google, I would deny it. Because if they, just like links, if they said, yeah, this is a factor that does do that, just think of the amount of spam above all the spam that exists today. And they're not going to get a good picture of what content it is. Not enough people are utilizing Google Plus yet, even though they have several hundred million users. All right, and finally, for a local business tip, before I close that off and move on to some agency stuff, just a simple link exposure strategy for a local business. Very simple. Think of the business in hand and think of your specific expertise. What makes that business or your business better than all the competitors within a 5-mile radius? Once you list 5 different key components that you can identify that make you better, your next job is to create content centered around that, but not in a sales aspect, in a value-added aspect. So if you're a plumber, and what makes this plumber better in, for example, my area here? Well, maybe they utilize certain piping, certain plastics that can withstand -50-degree temperatures. I'm doing this all at the top of my head here. And so a strategy that they would do would be to discuss why they utilize that type of plastic in their plumbing and some of the steps that consumers can take in order to avoid, for example, their pipes freezing. Once that content is created, who's going to want to read this? If there's anybody on the line right now dealing with plumbers, get that content created today. Submit it to all the local publications in the areas that are very cold right now. People in Tennessee, they're freaking out because it's 30 degrees there. It's 30 degrees Fahrenheit. That's about 0 degrees Celsius. They've never had to deal with that type of stuff. What are the little tips? What are some of the tips? For people that don't have boots and their feet get wet. I know it's stupid, but put a plastic bag over your sock and in between the shoe. It works great to help keep a lot of the cold and the water and the wet out and whatnot. But there's a lot of opportunity just based off of weather right now to get content specifically created that's going to help people out that are just not normal or not used to this type of weather. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and take not a couple minutes. I'm going to take 20 seconds here. I'm going to come back and answer some of these questions. Be right back, guys.
Hey, well, thanks for watching the Local Marketing Industry Update. We've got these things coming out every single week, so if you liked with what you heard, just click the button right above me right here to subscribe to our channel. If you'd like to get a little bit more, right over here, go check out localmarketingsource.com. We've got free reports that you can grab. You can even register for our free marketing course to get in and see the portal. Or just go ahead and follow us on some of the social channels. We'll be around. Until next time.